Good afternoon. This is Dr. Al-Deen for Muslim Network TV, and my show is Critical Talk. We've had more than we can say about issues of mental health, and they keep building every day. Children are stressed out because they really don't understand what's going on. Adults who really also don't understand what's going on. We have long haulers, those who had COVID or come into contact with it and are continuously and persistently experiencing horrible and debatable with regard to medication for them symptoms. What can I say? None of us know exactly what to do, but we're going to try to start on a path of thinking about how to work with mental health in the Muslim community. This afternoon, I have with me Noreen Ahmed, who's the founder of SEMA, a national mental health organization for Muslims. Thank God for you. She is also a financial analyst. I need you, a podcaster, public speaker, writer, and has been featured on a number of programs, Muslim and non. She's currently pursuing her master's degree in counseling psychology at Northwestern University and chasing 4 kids. So, if we could all give you a round of applause, we would. And she's still smiling. Oh my God. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so humbled and honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there's so many issues I want to cover, some of which we know the answers to, some of which we don't. But let me start with, let's give a definition of what is good mental health.
I would say someone who has good mental health has a good control of their emotional stability, their mental stability. They're a contributor to society. They're able to, go out and work and, go to school and be productive and, to basically be a positive citizen to our communities. So, just being able to have a good, healthy balance, within oneself, a good homeostasis, I would say.
Well, how do you know if you're in good mental health? You may not be having night terrors or so anxious you can't go out of the door, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have good mental health if those things are not there.
That is very true. There are such things as high functioning depression, high functioning anxiety. That is very valid. And you're right. We need to be able to recognize, just to give you a little background of SEMA. So SEMA is the name of my mother, and she suffered from severe mental illness. And she had bipolar depression and schizoaffective disorder. And, needless to say, she was not able to control her emotions. She was not a positive contributor to society. But she was a very severe case. And as a child, we were told, there's so much shame and stigma around mental health. And we were told to keep it a secret, not to tell anyone how she was behaving at home. And we were only told that she had depression. But that's not what depression looks like.
Right.
What symptoms she was exhibiting was not just depression. She had bipolar depression, but she had a lot of things going on as well. So as I grew up and I became an adult, my idea of mental illness was my mother. And
Reasonable.
what happened, and so what happened was I over the years was surrounded by various people, loved ones, friends, family, who were exhibiting symptoms of anxiety, depression, personality disorders. And I didn't know. I didn't know the names of these things. I didn't know that this is not normal, that this is not these are not people in good mental health. And so, as you said, how can we tell? How do we know? I didn't even know. I thought these people were just regular, they all have jobs, they're parents, they're friends, they are contributing to society in a positive way. But for example, one person, you could call her a clean freak. Okay. So maybe she was exhibiting signs of obsessive compulsive disorder. She was very erratic and kind of high drama and showing a lot of anxiety.
Erratic and high drama. Everybody I know is high drama. But what does it mean when we're talking psychology?
Yeah.
High drama and erratic.
Just having an overreaction, not being able to control the emotions. So to give you a couple of examples of this case, this person would burst through my door, crying hysterically. And, my kids, my spouse, everyone is kind of like, in shock, like what's happened? Why is this person bursting in the door in hysterics? And in hindsight, now that I know what I know, this person was having a panic attack. I didn't know that at the time. This person would call me, 2:00 in the morning in tears, and I would, be jumping in my car, driving to their place, to console them. This is not normal. This is not normal behavior, So, and you just think that you're being a good friend and you're caring, but sometimes you end up, because you don't know what you're dealing with, you could be enabling behavior, not getting them the help that they need. And I think this is why it's so important. And this is what SEMA is about. SEMA is about providing support to caregivers, to people who have loved ones that are exhibiting symptoms, because we are first responders.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Those people are not going to get help on their own. They need someone to hold their hand, and that's usually friends and family. So if friends and family can learn what the symptoms are, they can say, hey, I notice you've been behaving like this. This sounds like you might have depression or anxiety or whatever. And I think you might benefit from some therapy. So that education piece needs to happen. Otherwise, these people who have mental illnesses or symptoms are going around, and, they're not just hurting themselves. Sometimes they're hurting people around them. And the best thing they can do is help themselves,
So
otherwise
SEMA can help. It's helping the caregivers. So how, and we'll do this a couple of times, but could you give us, so that we can put it on screen, how folk who are listening can contact SEMA?
Yeah, so we have, we're on social media. We have a website. The website is semamentalhealth.com. And then you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and then that's at SEMA Advocacy. So those are the ways. And then you can email us at info@SEMA-mental-health.
One of them. Awesome. Because I don't think anybody has, well, I can't say ever, but I don't think many people think about the need for the caregivers to be educated enough to handle it, to even get to the point of trying to get the person who is in crisis to get some therapy. And here in the United States, that can be very, very difficult. We're going to take a quick break, and I want to talk some more about SEMA's educating the caregiver when we come back. This is Dr. Amina Al-Deen. I'm on Muslim Network TV and Critical Talk, talking with the wonderful Nareen Ahmed about mental health. We'll be right back.
Billboards are popping up all over the country within
our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No me!
No justice!
No me!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world? You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward. That lesson learned brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
This is Dr. Amina Al-Deen, and I am back with Nareen Ahmed, and we're discussing SEMA, which is a very wonderful program, novel in its intent. And because we're all in the Muslim community and people, and it's in every community, mental health is a stigma. But in the Muslim community, there is a double layer, and many have hit that double layer before, where women are given 5-day holds and the attendants are all male. They're asked to take off their scarves so that they don't hang themselves. All kinds of things go on. And SEMA is an intervention until we can get the desired therapy. I am just so excited. I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm going to tell everybody, but tell us some more about SEMA.
Right. So some of the ways that we do some of our support. So we have support groups. Initially, we were doing in-person support groups through the masajid. So we're trying to get the masajid to have the support groups at their locations, because a lot of times people are going to their imam asking for support. With COVID and everything, we decided to move things online. We're still in that restructuring, but we're looking to do online support groups, and then we do podcasting.
That's what I'm just asking. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, so yeah. So, now the education piece is through doing podcasts, educating the community on different topics through that. There's all kinds of platforms right now. There's even something called Clubhouse. So I sometimes go on there and do talks. And then I created the first ever Zoomable, searchable directory of Muslim therapists in the US and Canada. So there are directories out there, but we never had a map where you can zoom in and find someone in your area, click on it, read their name.
I must absolutely must have that. That is so awesome.
Yes, it is awesome. So that was a big achievement for SEMA to put that together, and we're honored to be able to provide that, and we keep it updated, continuously. But yeah, providing access to the Muslim community to find Muslim therapists in their area is huge. It's a huge win.
Oh, it is, because many people have heard of Khalil Center, for example, and they have a waiting list of 300 or 400. Well, if someone is in mental crisis, before the fire department and the police have to come and take them away, you want to have some resources. And this Zoomable thing, you've got to tell our audience how they can get to it. It should be in every household.
Yeah. I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. It's SEMAmentalhealth.com/find-a-therapist. And that's how you can, find a therapist.
So how many of you are there working at SEMA?
So we have a team of volunteers. When we were doing it through the Masajid, we had volunteers who would go and set up these workshops, these support groups, pretty much about once a month. And then we just tap into any licensed therapist who's able to give talks. I've had Dr. Fahad Khan on the podcast with Khalil Center. I had Sadia Jalani from Houston talking about divorced Muslim women. So, and then we even have community members. There was a sister in Canada whose mother committed suicide. So we had a podcast on her experience with her Muslim mother committing suicide. And that was a great topic because there's so much stigma around that as well. So
it is. There are a lot of young people. The suicide rate seems to be increasing in clusters.
Yes, absolutely.
As it's kind of necessary. Let me see. We have a question here. If you need assistance and it went away, put that back up there. There it goes. If you need assistance in reaching a therapist, you can do it here. Oh, I love it. I love it because people don't know where to go.
Yes.
They don't, one of the places here in Chicago a while ago started, it was not for Muslim women. It was for South Asian women, largely Hindu. And one of the things a few therapists were caught saying was, well, if you weren't Muslim, you probably would be okay. And then we've caught folk at University of Chicago and Rush saying the same kinds of things. And once that passes through the grapevine, people do not want to seek help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't
there's
know.
Definitely a lot of stigma. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think also it is the people around you are going to be the first to know you have issues. And the people who have the issues are extremely resistant. What would you suggest? What would you suggest?
Oh, I mean, especially I would say it's even harder when it's a personality disorder.
Right.
So, when someone has a personality disorder, there's...
Say what those are. Say what those are.
Some of the cluster B personality disorders are narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality. I'm sorry?
Like our ex-president.
Yes, perhaps. We can't go around diagnosing people, but he does.
I think he's really got diagnosed. But go ahead.
He does exhibit narcissistic traits for sure. There's borderline personality disorder. There's what's it called? Antisocial personality disorder. So, those kind of personality disorders are very difficult when you're living with the person, you're growing up with the person. This is you just say that's their personality. You don't know it's a abnormal personality. You might not realize that because you're just so conditioned to be around that. And so that's really difficult. Once you start learning and recognizing what these disorders are, especially with those kinds, it's very difficult to get them into a therapy room. I would say this is again why we come back to the first responders and the caretakers is you need support, because before they're going to get support, you're probably going to need support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you kind of learn some effective communication skills. You know, you might go in with an adjustment disorder. You're trying to adjust to living with this person. And your therapist can also help you with trying to encourage, you know, maybe you can be the role model. Now, look, I'm going for therapy. There's no stigma. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame. You know, why don't you consider, you know, I noticed, you know, or why don't you come with me and, you know, just maybe your therapist is willing to talk to your friend or loved one just to get them to feel comfortable, but they can't see the same person. So it would be a conflict of interest, but, you know, just get them over that stigma, because a lot of people are just so scared, you know, the shame, and sometimes they're afraid of finding out that they're not normal. You know, that's the thing. This term saying, even that has stigma around it. To say that they're not normal is such a negative connotation.
Right.
We shouldn't, maybe perhaps a better word is, you know, they're not healthy. And we get them healthy.
Right,
you know?
right.
So, so these are some ways. When it comes to things like suicide, a lot of times what ends up happening is it's a crisis by the time it's dealt with. So the person has gone to the emergency room, they've been admitted, they're now maybe an outpatient, partial inpatient facility, and now they're being prescribed medication. Now, the medications come from a psychiatrist, not a therapist, not a psychologist. That's different. That's when they need more acute care, is when they're now on prescribed medication. So there's a difference between therapy and going to a psychiatrist. You sometimes need both. Because the psychiatrist is not really going to sit and do the talk therapy with you. They're going to just say, you know, what are your symptoms? Okay, how are you feeling on the medication? Do we need to adjust your dosage? You know, that kind of thing. Whereas a therapist,
a psychiatrist also talks to you.
A psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, but they're more focused on, I would say they're more focused on, you know, the pathological, you know, getting you the medication and things like that. Yeah, they talk to you about how you're feeling and how the medications are, if they're working or not. And but I think
that's something that probably, as you go along, you'll find is myth. We have 2 psychiatrists in our families, and they have lots of patients that they don't ever put on medication. They spend an hour or 2 with them a week, talking through things, childhood trauma, recent trauma, lots of different things. It's just that if necessary, they can also prescribe medication, but the prescription of medication is not their primary function. They are just medical doctors who can also see if there's some intervening medical stuff happening with you.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, perhaps.
The therapist
perhaps
has a different kind of non-medical education and focuses on psychology, a little bit of sociology, but would not be able to tell a woman having, for example, extreme menopausal issues who looks like she's crazy. She may be bursting in your room, screaming and hollering, you know, but then she needs both the psychiatrist and the medical doctor in one, because she needs some Premarin.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
And she needs some help with her menopause. But I understand what you're saying. I think many people would feel more comfortable with the psychologist or the therapist, because there's not so much stigma there, you know. Even though you may be really crazy, some of the stigma is lessened. we're going to have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish that thought.
I was going to say one thing I do think we need to clarify is that going to a psychologist, counselor, therapist is not rent a friend. You're not paying someone to just talk to them about your problems. Mm-hmm. That's not what a therapist's role is. The therapist is professionally trained in various modalities to teach their clients skills, to gain insights in themselves, to grow, to heal trauma. There's internal family systems. That's one modality. There's CBT, DBT. There's all kinds of various therapy modalities that are used that they're trained in. There's the one EMDR for trauma. So I think that's a misconception. Excuse me, just one more.
Yeah, I think that therapists, and God knows we need many, many more of you. And people really need to support SEMA, because many of the people in our communities are not going to go see either.
Yeah. We're kind of like the in-between. We're the in-between before you go to the actual therapist. Like, this is the first step. Learn about what the symptoms are.
Yeah, you have come up with something that is extremely awesome, because it's just like it took people, the society, as a matter of fact, a while to realize that caregivers of the elderly, for example, or handicapped children, for example, needed breaks. They needed counseling, because they're on call 24/7. It's the same thing, and it hadn't been thought of, I don't think, but maybe about living with the person who has mental unhealth. However that unhealth is manifesting itself, but also to have some knowledge of symptoms to be able to be on the lookout even, because if you're a multi-generational family living in one household, you don't want the person who's experiencing crisis to have an effect on the rest of the family members, especially the children.
Yes, exactly. Yes. The children have no idea that they think this is normal. Whatever's happening in the home, they don't know any different.
Exactly.
I know we're gonna take a break soon, but I want to actually talk about the effects of childhood trauma and some of the ways it can be exhibited. Like, if you don't resolve it, you go into adulthood, and how it can affect, especially when it comes to domestic violence. So I definitely want to touch on that topic a little bit more, because I don't think people realize how their trauma from their childhood is with them if they don't get healing, and then they get married, start families of their own, and there's something called intergenerational trauma that's throughout.
Okay, this is Dr. Amina Al-Deen talking with Noreen Ahmed. We're going to come back and talk about this intergenerational trauma and some other things. We're going to take a quick break now. We'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum!
I love Adam's World because it makes me learn in a fun way. That Adam has a green face and orange hair. I like this song. I like how Adam sings. I like Adam's World because it makes me happy. What? No. And here's Adam and here's Anissa. Adam and his sister. Adam is a boy and he is very smart.
Download the new Adam's World app at adamsworldapp.com and let's help tomorrow's Muslims today.
is Dr. Amina Al-Deen, and we're talking about as many aspects as we can explore of mental health. But our expert today, Noreen Ahmed, wants to, and we need to hear about intergenerational trauma.
Thank you so much. So one of the topics that I have been very fascinated with is what I call narcissistic family systems. So what you would see in a narcissistic family system is one parent who is exhibiting narcissistic behaviors, and the other parent maybe, or the other adult in the home, typically is exhibiting codependency. So what a child would see in this kind of home is a parent who is very not very empathetic. They're probably emotionally neglectful of the child. The parents' needs come first. There could be abuse involved. It could be emotional, verbal, physical abuse as well. So some of the messaging that a child who's growing up in an abusive home, and it could be an abusive home, it could be a parent with a substance abuse problem, any of these things, but I'm going to focus on abuse. Mm-hmm. Some of the messaging that if you are a child in this home, you're going to get the first message you're going to get is love is pain. The person who's supposed to love me, protect me, take care of me also hurts me. Okay. Mm-hmm. The second messaging you get is keep a secret. Keep this all a secret. Show the public that you're happy. Everything's fine. We don't talk about what happens at home. Okay. The third thing is the child is expected to manage the parent's emotions. Again, it could be abusive. It could be alcoholic, whatever it is. They don't want to set off that parent and get them into a rage. Right. Right. And the other thing that could happen is spiritual abuse. So in a Muslim family home, what we see sometimes is, you have to obey your parents. You can't say oof to your parents. So this parent is abusing the family members, and the child is silenced and they cannot speak. Right. So let's say this child is a female, and she grows up. And now she gets married, and she has not dealt with the trauma that she was, experiencing as a child. And let's say her spouse now starts showing abuse, verbal, emotional, physical. It's going to appear familiar to this person. Well, love is pain. The person who's supposed to care for me, nurture me, protect me, also hurts me. This is normal. This is what I learned, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to keep secrets again. They're not going to tell anybody what's happening, right? Third, they're going to manage this abusive spouse's emotions. They're going to try to keep them calm. And once again, there could be spiritual abuse, in the Muslim community, where they're saying, obey your husband. You can't say no to your husband, things like that. So what I've been seeing, because I run a lot of online support groups, I admin support groups for single Muslim women, is a lot of this pattern repeating itself. And it's an issue that needs to be dealt with. Before the show, we were talking a little bit about how domestic violence has gone up with COVID. People are at home more. Women, and children are at home. They're not leaving the house to go to work and school. And if there's abuse in the home, it's now because they're in such close proximity, it's escalating. True. So we need to educate our community. There's so much stigma around divorce. Again, the mental health of the spouse. People don't know that this person who's being abusive, that this is not normal behavior. They maybe need anger management. Maybe they have depression, whatever it is. And we give this messaging to our community, to the women, to have patience, sabr, have tawakkul, just stick it out,
Mm-hmm.
And, another issue I would say is, we encourage our youth to get married young, right?
Yes.
And we don't date. And a lot of times when you're dealing with abuse is you get married and the abuse starts after marriage, not before marriage. There's a lot of, especially with the narcissist, there's 3 cycles. There's love bombing, devaluing, and discard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they love bomb you before the marriage or while they're dating or courting, you could say. There's, oh, I love you. And, oh, we're going to have the future faking is another thing. Oh, we're going to live happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they get married, then the devaluing starts where they start putting you down. Oh, why are you like this? Oh, you're like that. And that belittling and just verbal, slowly, starts. And then the discard. And then you just get into that cycle of abuse, right? So I think we need to educate our youth on what these signs and symptoms are. That abuse, that oppression is the antithesis of Al-Deen. Physical, I heard someone say, pain is purification. No, pain is purification when it comes from Allah, not from His creation. His creation should not be inflicting pain on other people. So we have this, again, the spiritual abuse where people are using, ideas within Islam to kind of gaslight and manipulate people to staying in these kinds of situations. So, yeah, so these are just some of the things that I'm seeing, and I think it's very important that we highlight and bring awareness, especially to our next generation. We need to encourage our daughters that, they don't need to stay in that kind of marriage, that they are welcome to come back, no questions asked. A lot of times, especially I know in the South Asian community, it's like you're married now, that's it. You just make your own bed and lie in it kind of thing, So
that's about every community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are some of the, and then what happens, the children now, okay, so now your children are growing up in this home where their parent is abusive, and you're the mother, you're being codependent, and now the children are going to repeat that intergenerational trauma, and they are at high risk of also, getting into abusive relationships themselves. So it just keeps going until someone breaks.
Until there's an intervention.
Yes.
Until there's an intervention.
Yes.
That is so enlightening. Can you think about where we are now, where the city of Chicago and many other cities around the country are opening back up? And I've noticed some really strange behavior. There's been airplane rage. There's road rage. There's, oh my God, you're asking me to put on a mask and to come in a store, I'll shoot you rage. And prior to COVID, we might have had, we had road rage. I don't know if we had so much of the airplane rage. What is this? Is it a new phenomena? If it's not new, how do we take care of it?
Wow. I honestly have not heard about this rage. I wonder if it's, we don't know. With COVID, they're not going to be able to do the studies of the long-term effects that COVID has had on people until years down the line. Definitely people are having heightened anxiety, depression. Kids are suffering, their school suffering, sitting and doing remote learning. But the road rage and the airplane rage, I honestly, I think people are just in a heightened state of anxiety for sure. People are so scared of getting COVID, and they want everyone to stay away, and why aren't you wearing your mask? And and people may have loved ones who died, and so they are very sensitive and on high alert, and are offended when other people aren't taking the same care and concern. So I think it's all kinds of things that could be playing into all this. But again, we're not going to know. The long-term studies aren't going to be able to be done for a while now, but definitely there's a rise in depression and anxiety. I know Khalil Center has talked about they're seeing more cases, they're getting more calls across the world. I think all the therapists are getting more and more cases of depression, anxiety, and these kinds of domestic violence and things like that. So yeah.
Well, I know that people had the initial anxiety, and heightened anxiety came with, oh my God, I might get COVID. Then it came with, oh my God, I can't get a vaccine. Then it came with, oh my God, the world is opening back up, but if I get on the plane, I'm too close to people. They had it on the news last night here in Chicago, where they were telling some airlines have stopped serving liquor because they think that heightens the person's ability to act out on the rage. And that the rage has gotten so bad that some of them are even thinking about going back to putting a seat between people, because people don't know how to act sitting next to each other anymore. I think this is really something else. But as we come up on all of those things, I want to give you the last couple of minutes to tell me and my listening audience, what do you think we should be on the lookout for?
What should we be on the lookout for? I think when it comes to our loved ones, look for changes in people's sleeping patterns, changes in people's eating habits, their reactions to things. So, are you talking in a calm manner and they're overreacting? Maybe they're having anxiety. I think a lot of people aren't in tune with their own emotions. They don't know what they're feeling. They don't even know how to process. They just react to things and don't take the time to just take a step back and just say, let me just take a minute. So, or asking the other person, maybe you need to take a minute. I think communication, we live in this world that's cyber and everyone's texting and typing, and this face-to-face interaction, people just don't know how to behave. As you said, even sitting next to each other, they don't know how to behave. And we live in and all this Instagram, social media has made people narcissistic. People are so me, and they're very entitled. So, you're sitting in a plane and you're saying, well, this is my space.
Exactly.
Why are you? I think, so I think what we're lacking is empathy. I think what it comes down to is empathy, just putting yourself in other people's shoes. Stop being so selfish and just take a step back and just say, what are you feeling right now? How can I be there for you? What do you need right now? What can I do to help you right now? Just instead of just saying, you're hurting my feelings. So it's just, and then there's boundary setting. I mean, we can talk, we could go on and on. I know we've got a couple of minutes, but there's so many things. But I think definitely just pay attention. I know, especially if you have children, like I said, the sleeping patterns, the eating habits, and then negative attitudes, if they're those kinds of things, as signs for depression are important. Anxiety, are they feeling anxious about going out, going shopping, talking to people? Just pay attention to their behavior and And if you are concerned, you know, you can go to the SEMA website.
There you go.
Email us, you know, anytime on social media. If you have questions, always happy to help, inshallah, you know.
This has been wonderful. So much information imparted. And on top of that, for many of us, there's a resource given. And especially the one with where you can zoom in and find a therapist near you, but also that SEMA will help those who live with people who are exhibiting some of the behaviors you're talking about. Help them first to get help to help.
Yes.
This has been wonderful, Noreen. Don't be surprised if I call on you, but I hear that we have a question. Whoops. Put it up. Suggestions. I don't know.
Yes.
Try disconnecting from the electronic. Well,
Yes.
when you think about it, many parents try to minimize their kids' use of electronics. And then they went into remote learning, which meant that they were overusing electronics and didn't have much of a choice, or they would be flunking a grade. So it became interesting. Many people work in offices where they went remote. And working from home, you can't opt out and say that I'm disconnecting my electronics today. And they say, okay, we'll find someone to take your place. So I think that for many, and let me put it, because I understand what you're saying, it's a judicious use of electronics. When you don't have to be on it, don't be on it. You know, watch a movie, play a board game, you know, have a family meal, do some other things. And that's really what I think it is.
We just got a trampoline in our backyard. So we got the kids jumping on the trampoline this
over. Sounds great.
Yes, come on over.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you again and thank the listening audience. We're not finished with mental health. We will continue talking about mental health tomorrow. This is Dr. Al-Deen, and I have spent a very fast 50 minutes with Noreen Ahmed, who I hope to have back on the program again. This is Muslim Network TV, and this is Critical Talk. Thank you.